Seems like it was only a couple years ago I picked up this sexy-looking cover and read this book called Night Seer. And I was very taken with that character in that book, and then where was the sequel? And that's a long story, you know, mostly. And a year or so later, we got Guilty Pleasures, and I wouldn't have probably picked it up based on the title and the cover. So I'd read her other book, and I read the book and discovered Anita Blake. And what can I say about that? I was pretty much hooked already. I didn't go out and start dressing up in goth clothes or anything, but I did become a lot more partial to really well-written vampire fiction, and I've enjoyed watching that character grow ever since. So here for Serpentine, please welcome Laurell K Hamilton.
Thank you. Wow, that's really loud. I'll have to be careful about that. I'm going to ask one question. I know you're live streaming this, so how far can I walk before you have problems losing me? Okay, I mean sideways. Really? Okay, as long as I just pace on this here, because now, of course, I immediately thought about, where can I go? No, I wouldn't do that. I would think about it, but I wouldn't do it. I'm just don't know where to put it. Thank you. All right. It is a beautiful church, isn't it? What a great space. Thank you for being here. And yes, it is. It's Seattle. It's not supposed to be hot here. Do you know it's sunny every time we come? It's sunny every time we come. Don't tell anyone. Are you guys lying to everybody in the country? It's actually sunny and beautiful here and you don't want people to come? And see, I was thinking in a couple of years, maybe we could move here and change the climate. But so, mum's the word. Of course, we're being live streamed, so not so mum. All right. We are here for Serpentine, which is number 26 for Anita. I did not think we would ever get to number 26 because, as was mentioned, Night Seer, my first novel, was supposed to be one of 4. And as most first novels do, and it didn't sell that well. Elves, Dwarves, and Dragons, the bottom fell out of the fantasy market about the time I published. And it's a good first novel, but it didn't have the sales. They rejected the sequel, and I thought my career might be over before it began. And I had this short story that everyone loved and nobody bought, called Those Who Seek Forgiveness, with Anita Blake, this character who raised the dead. And I thought, that's an interesting world. Maybe I could put a book in it. And so I did. And everyone loved that, and nobody bought that one either. It was rejected over 200 times. Over 200 times by mystery houses, fantasy, science fiction, horror. Everybody loved it. Everybody thought, I don't know how to market it. Because I predate Buffy. I finished the first novel, Guilty Pleasures, before Buffy hit the airwaves. And so it took years to sell. And I'm just lucky that Penguin, it's now Penguin Random House, but it was Penguin Putnam back then, took a chance on a new novel and a mixed genre book, because there was no such thing as paranormal. And here we are, all these years later, with number 26. Because I remember the first contract for 3 books, I remember thinking, at least there'll be 3 books. And I meant that. And every contract, they'd do 3 more, and I go, at least there'll be 6 books, at least there'll be 9 books, at least there'll be, and here we are. And I'm just going, wow. If I hadn't had the first failure, this might not be quite as sweet. It'd be pretty awesome, but it's even sweeter because of the first failure. All right. I've warmed you up, perhaps, because this is your chance to ask questions. It's a Q&A, oh, yay, because every once in a while I get the deer in headlights when I say that. All right, now, there's supposed to be a microphone, because I don't know how well your voice is going to carry up here. Okay, they're getting the mic. Are we? I see a mic. I see somebody with a microphone. Yes. All right. What's your question?
First off, I love you.
Oh, well, thank you.
Second, can I get you to like step up too? Because we can't really see you back there.
You'll need at least 3. Now, what are the odds of me not falling? That, that is, yes, I know. Now can everybody see me? I'm not joking about the falling part, though, maybe. So no questions, you just want me higher up. Okay, way in the back. Okay, can I step up 2 more? Because I really am going to go, if I pace back and forth, I'm going to fall. I'm not joking on that. I have fallen off entire stages before. I pace back and forth, and I just took 1 step too many. So one of the reasons that the really high heels don't go on tour anymore. They look great, but they are dangerous. Okay, question.
I want to know, ooh, that is really loud.
It is loud, isn't it?
I know we're here for Serpentine, which is Anita, but I want to know when we're going to see Merry again.
I am making notes on Merry. There will be more Merry, but Mary's pretty pissed at me right now. She wants her happy ever ending back, and I've got to figure out how to fix it. Fix what's broke. We've got to kill at least one person, save some others, and then give her her happy ever ending and leave her alone. That's what she's voting. She says, "You fix this, then get away from me." So it's not going to be the next book. It won't be the next book after that. It may not even be the next 3 books. I don't know. She and I are working on it, though. We are making notes. And once we fix everything, then I'm hoping that if I give her a little time to enjoy her happy ever after, we might be able to do some shorter pieces with some of the kids as they get older. Because, but first we have to fix. We have to get back to happy ever after. And that's going to be pretty hard. All right. Other questions? Yes. There. Well, we'll just make you come up in order kind of thing.
Thank you. Hi, I'm a huge fan of yours, read your books for half my life.
Thank you.
And my question is, will you ever put out a second one for Nightseer?
Will I ever put a sequel to Nightseer? My husband votes yes. And I could now, if I could figure out how to do it. I'm a very different writer. I don't know. I don't know if I could write Kelios now. She was under 24. She was, and the first book is totally me working out the issues with my mother's death. It took me, I wrote it, and it took me 4 or 5 years after I wrote it to reread it and go, it's therapy. It's so therapy. It's a good book, but it was accidentally a good book. And by that I mean it's the first book I ever wrote. It was good enough to sell, but the sequel really was kind of terrible. I thought I knew how to write novels. I was wrong. I have that novel, and then I have a couple of others to prove that I didn't know how it worked. Now, I know how to write it. I just don't know if I could do it the way it needs to be done now. I don't know. I may try it. I am making notes, and oddly, it is her cat that's talking to me. Gilsterpath is talking to me, her tuxedo long hair. And I finally have cats for the first time. I almost 20 years of shots, of allergy shots, and I have cats. And the first cat that came to the house was a tuxedo. So, magic is afoot. We'll see.
Thank you. Hopefully you can put it out. I'm pretty sure you'll have a lot more readers now.
Okay, I know I'm ready now.
Wait, I know you. Okay, you have a question.
That's real quick. How did you feel when you cut Nathaniel's hair?
Okay, first of all, how many people have not written Crimson Death?
Oh.
Okay, can we do spoilers from Crimson Death? Or would that really, are you vote no? This is your chance.
No.
Okay, all I'm hearing is noise at this point. So anybody who would be very brokenhearted for spoilers from Crimson Death, raise your hand. Okay. Those who haven't read it but who don't care about spoilers are, okay. Are we democratic? Or it's been out for over a year. That's true, it's out in paperback. So we're going to be democratic. It's what we're supposed to be doing, right?
Yes.
So I cried. I cried when it happened. And let me just say, though, I'm trying to be less spoiler than I could, and that is this, that when it happened, let me just say that there were other worse possibilities on the table.
Oh.
So, you know, of all the things, that will grow back.
Thank you.
All right. And then, questions? Somebody, okay. Well, gentleman in the red shirt, or, yes.
My wife here wrote a vampire book, and we self-published the first of a trilogy, and sales haven't been overwhelming, shall we say. So just wonder if you have any advice on maybe finding an agent or going directly to publishing houses.
Why did you self-publish?
We worked with a consultant, I guess, and that was kind of the direction he suggested.
Why did you self-publish or have a consultant that told you to self-publish? What was his reasoning?
I'm sorry, what?
What was his reasoning?
He just thought that with the number of books in the genre, it would be difficult to get it out there otherwise.
But he's not your agent.
No.
And he's not an editor.
Correct.
And he's not a publisher.
Correct.
What?
Not the best choice, I am sensing.
Okay, I'm just going consultant. I don't know this word in publishing context. I'm puzzled. Okay, I have no advice because I don't understand self-publishing well enough to really advise you. I don't know if you haven't gotten sales for that, you've made it doubly hard on yourself. You've already proven it doesn't sell, it doesn't have a market, so you've actually made your job much, much harder. So I still go the traditional route, which is you finish your book and then you research the markets in Writer's Digest or Writer's Market, and you find the people who are buying what you want to sell. You find out if they want a query letter, you find out if they want like a synopsis, and you contact them. At the same time that you contact agents, and you find out who markets your own writing, the kind of stuff you write, and you contact them both. Because if you sell a book, you can get an agent. I know it seems backwards. If you get an agent, sometimes they can sell your book, but if you sell, you'll want that agent to read your contract because you don't want to accidentally sign your soul or your firstborn away. You will need someone to help you read it. So I don't know what a consultant is in this context, and I've been doing this for over 20 years, so I don't know. But I can tell you that there are people out there that are doing self-publishing and are doing well, but I don't know anybody that's making more at self-publishing than they are in traditional publishing. And you should always try to sell traditionally. I had over 200 rejection slips with guilty pleasures. Rejection doesn't kill you. And what if they say yes? Selling your manuscript is like dating. If you go up to that attractive person at the bar and you go, "Hey, you're beautiful. Can I buy you a drink?" And they say no, then you don't buy them a drink. There are other people in the bar. There are other people in the world. You've lost nothing. But what if they say yes? And then you buy them that drink. And you get to sit by the beautiful person that you wanted to sit beside. Selling your story is like that. It doesn't hurt to be rejected. It's pieces of paper, it's not yourself. Okay. So I hope that answers some of your questions, but a consultant is a new bird in this business for me. All right, okay, yes.
Hi, read all your books 3 or 4 times a piece. I keep rereading, they're great material. You've got a fantastic imagination, and I love the Anita Blake world, and I love the Merry Gentry world. So I guess my question is, do you have any other worlds inside of you, and are we going to see any of those?
Thank you for loving my world and my characters. And yes, I have a new series, a new character, a new world that I will be working on next and have started, actually. But I can't tell you anything about it because my agent gets testy about that.
Can we get a hint?
No, I can't give you a hint. Because I'm writing it, and until I get at least a finished draft, I don't want to. Because some things drastically change. I recently found in a box at home some of the early manuscripts of copies of Guilty Pleasures. Not the finished one. Not the one that I originally read at Name That Con, and to a room full of people that thought I was one of the scriptwriters for the Star Trek The Next Generation. I'll tell that story when I finish answering this. But the book is completely different. The first version I wrote had no vampires in it, only zombies. Larry Kirkland was a character in the beginning. Anita worked directly with the police, or was on the police. Dolph was there, Zabrowski was there. There was no Jean-Claude, no vampires, just zombies and crime. And I went, I'd forgotten this was my first version. This is really dark. This isn't any fun at all, which is why I didn't finish it that way. Because it was depressing and dark, and it wasn't fun for me to write. If it's not fun for me to write, it's not going to be fun for anybody to read. And so until it's soup all the way through, until I finish it, I don't want to hint, just in case what I say is wrong, just in case I change it. So what did I mean? I had written 70 pages of Guilty Pleasures, just 70 pages. That's all I had. Name That Con was a convention in my hometown of St. Louis, and was it Name That Con? Yes, it was Name That Con. And they gave me a reading. I had one book out, two books out, because the Star Trek book had come out. Or no, I think only one book, only Night Seer. It was coming out. So they let me have a room because Melissa Snodgrass, who was working on Next Generation Star Trek, had canceled at the last minute, and she was doing a reading. And so they gave me her room. So I sat down at the little table at the head of the thing, and I thought, and the room started filling up. A lot of people, like standing room only people. And I went, nobody knows who I am. Why are there people here? Nobody comes to readings for new authors. Nobody. And yet there was standing room only. So I thought, well, here we go. And I started reading. And people stayed, and they didn't get up. And when they'd open the door, more people would come in. And they listened, enraptured, until I finished everything I'd written. There was no more book. But they didn't know that. I stopped, and there was dead silence in the room. And then they went, oh, that is better than applause. And then there was applause. But that letting the breath out as if they were there with you, they're there in the room, that's magic. You know you've got something special. And I thought, I can finish this book. It's good. But they thought I was Melissa Snodgrass because they didn't know what she looked like either. So if I had just been Laurell K Hamilton on the door and they didn't think I was Melissa Snodgrass from Star Trek Next Generation, they wouldn't have even come into the room. But because they didn't know who she was and they didn't know who I was, they stayed. And it gave me the confidence I needed to finish the book. So, serendipity, indeed. All right, another question. Yes.
Hi there.
Hello.
Many years ago, you were here, and I said that I was very afraid that you would just stop writing the Merry or the Anita series, and your husband actually answered and said that he had seen stories of their children and other things like that. Should we expect that since you're writing a new series that those things might be put off or many years down the road, or can we still expect a book every year?
Are you, okay, I'm a little confused.
It's 2 parts, I'm sorry.
Do you mean, are you expecting an Anita book and a Merry book every year?
I'm saying one day one of them might just stop. And we're not going to be able to see what happened to her.
Well,
without
no,
spoilers.
I cannot do Anita book and a Merry book and a new book every year. I cannot do 3 books.
Just one every other year, or I'm sorry, should we expect a book every year?
I took 1 year off because I needed to go into my writer's cave and kind of just think rather than continuously produce. You will get a book a year, and I know it will either be Anita or one of the new ones. It probably won't be Merry in the next 3 because I've got to figure out how to do this. She and I are just starting to talk, and she's going to have to be happy with it. She's usually pretty easygoing, but that's pretty much stopped.
Cool. I would love for there to be more. I would love there to be more of everything. I know it's hard, but that's it.
Thank you. All right, and question.
Hi, I'm a huge fan of the Anita Blake series.
Thank you.
Where did your inspiration for your characters come from?
Where's my inspiration for Anita and...
Yeah, just all of them.
Well, Anita came about because after college, I read hard-boiled detective fiction for the first time. And the female detectives, and the male detectives were very, very different. And one of the books was Sue Grafton's Kinsey Mahoney movie books, which is now up to Y. And Via Warshawski, and then I read Spencer books, and Raymond Chandler, and Dashiell Hammett. And the male detectives, they could cuss, shoot people, and have sex. And they didn't feel bad about they didn't feel bad about killing people. It was necessary, and the sex was kind of a given. The women, there was almost no, if they shot anybody, they had to feel really, really bad about it. There was no sex. It was very sanitized and off stage. No relationships even. And they didn't get to cuss much. I thought this was unfair. I decided I would even the playing field. I may have overcompensated. But I thought if I did a straight mystery series, I might get bored, because I researched it. And if you want to see a series that's long, has legs, longevity, fantasy and science fiction doesn't really get into double digits much. That's rare. But mysteries do. And what I noticed is that most authors seem to get bored between book 5 and book 8. Now, the slump happens, and then they usually build back up, and they're fine. But there's that, what am I going to do? How do I keep this going? So I thought I'd give myself more toys. So I love monster movies. I love horror since I was a little kid, so I decided I'd mix it all together. And I thought that would make me interesting enough for me to write this long. And indeed, it did. I'm still having a great time and learning more things about my world and my characters. So that is if I hadn't read other books that weren't doing what I wanted to read, I might not have written it. So there you go. All right. Okay. All right. Okay, wait. So somebody right here, and then, yes, go ahead. Yes. We have 3 people pointing at her vigorously. No pressure, but it really better be a good question.
Hello.
Hi.
Wow. Sorry, last time I saw you was with my brother, and you were my first ever book signing ever. He got me into you, and he's since died. And this is amazing to me. So, yeah, I was willed your books by him. Anyways, before I ever saw a picture of you, how I pictured Anita was kind of you. Did you do that on purpose? Like, did you mean for her to look like you?
I didn't mean to. I made her my height and size because I knew I'd be doing gun research and fighting research, and I wanted to know how big a hand. If I'd made her bigger than me, I'd have to borrow somebody all the time for it. I wanted to know she would be able to get out of whatever I'd gotten her into. So making her my size, that part was on purpose. I was going to make her life hard, so I thought I'd give her one thing I really like, which is my hair.
Yeah, I love your
And
hair.
at the time, my hair was pretty much black, not as pure a shiny, that blue black as hers, but pretty close. And as time's gone on, I went to California for a couple of years and lived, and my hair lightened and it's never darkened again. And now, I'd never dyed my hair. And if you've dyed your hair and you didn't know this, but I didn't know this. I didn't know that you can't dye your hair and then put it up under a baseball cap and a ponytail that sticks out and then go out in the water for 7 hours fishing. What happens to freshly dyed hair when you do that? It turns blonde. Not just blonde, golden platinum blonde from here down. It looked like the worst roots ever. And, you know, we came in from vacation. I went into the salon, and she says, "What did you do?" And I said, "I don't know." And then I told her what I did, and she had to dye the rest of it blonde because there was no way to fix it without really ruining the color. So I was blonde for a little while. And since my hair hasn't darkened, I've started doing like highlights and stuff. So my hair keeps getting lighter, which is kind of weird. But yes, eventually it will be very light. I know that. I've decided that if I ever go white, not gray, but white, like silver white, I'm not gonna dye it. Because wouldn't that be cool with the curl? It would look all science fiction-y. So if I ever go crystal white, I'll come out and that's gonna be it, man. Just blowing in the wind and just rocking it. But until then, my daughter's trying to talk me into unnatural colors, by the way. But I didn't think about her looking like me because she doesn't. To me, she looks like Anita. I can see her face, and I can understand you guys, though. You can see me, you can't see the inside of my head. And it's hard for a first-person narrative to describe herself in the detail. If she was third person, I'd be able to describe her more. So no, and yes. Yes,
Okay,
she was supposed to
fair
look
enough.
a little bit like me because I was going to make her life miserable, so I gave her my hair. She's my size because it makes my research better and easier. But I didn't mean for people to confuse us. How's that? All right.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and then we'll do the other side here. We'll do that. Yes, there.
Hi.
Hello.
So forgive me if my knowledge base is wrong, but I know that there are rumors of a TV show or a movie, and I think you debunked those. But I know that there's comic book adaptations, and I just wondered if you ever saw, since there's already visuals of the characters in those, maybe doing like an animated series, like an anime type series of Anita?
Yes, there was at time a TV show deal that had been signed, but it didn't come to fruition, as most of the deals don't. We did the comic adaptions. Would I ever do an animated series? I would prefer to do live action. I'm not saying no to an animated series, but it doesn't appeal to me as much as a TV show or a movie. So I'm not saying no, but I don't visualize as well that way as I do in real people or novels or straight comic. I don't know if straight comic or traditional comic, more traditional comic. Yeah. All right. And if we go that way or that way, we can hand it out. I don't know. So whatever's easiest for you.
Hi, so I've been a really big fan since I was 12.
I'm sorry?
I've been a big fan since I was 12.
Oh, thank you. I'm sorry.
I was just wondering, since you did a book about Micah and Jason, will we see a book about Nathaniel or Jean-Claude?
We are actually in the works on a book where it will be featured around Nathaniel, but it will not be a small book because I can't tell you. I can't. It would be a spoiler of huge proportions. We are going to do a short piece that will have some of Jean-Claude's. It will be a small book, but it's more because we're going to get some of his background, and I can't tell you because it would be a big spoiler. But I know why, and I've made notes, and I've started. So Jean-Claude will probably be getting one of the smaller books for his background, more of his background, which I know I've been interested in, and you have. I mean, and also, but Nathaniel, when he gets, it will not be Nathaniel because it's going to be closer to Blood and Gore with Jason, where we went home and saw his family and stuff. We won't be home seeing Nathaniel's family really, well, not exactly, but we will get more of his background and things. So it's in my mind. It will not be, please do not go on the internet and say that's the next book. It's not. I've started the next book. It's not. So and I can't tell you any more than that because it'll be a spoiler of the book after this one. And you didn't even want me to spoil the book before this one. So no, done. All right, next question.
Hi. They were mentioning the comics, and I really enjoyed the comics. Do you have any future plans to continue some of the comics for some of the books?
Well, what was the last comic that we did? We did Circus of the Damned, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's the plot of book 4, Lunatic Cafe? What's the mystery based around?
Oh.
Snuff film, right? Snuff porn.
Yeah.
Disney bought Marvel between Circus of the Damned and getting plans to do Lunatic Cafe.
You know, I hadn't thought of that.
Briefly, sort of, briefly, Anita was like a Disney princess. But the powers that be felt that it wasn't really conducive to the image of the new company as told. And it was really hard to argue, you know. But, and if you, so that's one of the reasons that they stopped.
Oh.
So if you just think about that, you'll just go, oh.
Makes so much more sense now.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. Okay, and then we have, she's had her hand up for her, she's kept her hand up patiently. Yeah. Is this table here for me, or is it for something else? Because I'm always, if I'm in a church, and it's not my path of faith, I sit there and go, what's this for? And I don't want to set anything on anything unless I know. Does anybody know what it's for? Is it for me to set things on? It was there when you got here, you don't know. It's fine to say you don't know. It's for me. Okay. So, it's not a holy article of any kind. Yes, I have to do it. Yes, I can touch it. See? Fine. Yes, my little pagan soul is just dandy. For those of you who are wondering, yes, once upon a time, like Anita, I was Episcopalian, which I find that I love being Episcopalian, and it was high church Episcopalian, so all the running joke, Catholic light, all the salvation with half the guilt. And no Latin. Good point. Okay.
So first off, I love your husband's shirt.
Oh,
you probably won't hear that from
thank
too many
you. Yes.
people, but I like it.
This is my husband, Jonathan. Sorry, I should have introduced him.
So I actually grew up about 3 hours south from where you live. Was up in St. Louis a lot throughout my life. Been out here about 4 years. So, but my question is more towards your kind of your writing. If you have any because I've read a lot from different authors on their writing style and their process and kind of but any interesting things that you do or don't do or avoid when you're writing? Like, I know Stephen King's got some interesting ones, so.
So anything I do or don't do or avoid when I'm writing, is that your question?
Mm-hmm.
That's awfully broad. I could answer it almost anyway. I almost always listen to music when I write. If I'm having, I usually pick an album or a playlist of everything from, Marilyn Manson to Godsmack, But if I'm having a bad day, I also have musicals, and I pick different musicals per book. If you hear musicals, everybody in the household knows it's a bad day. If you hear Christmas music out of season, it's a really bad day of writing. I found with Serpentine that there is a lower hell than Christmas carols in July. What is that? Nature sounds. I finally couldn't even settle on a Christmas album. I listened to nature sounds. Now, oddly enough, though, most of this book is set in the Florida Keys, and I listen to ocean. I have never had a book make me want to listen to the sound of the locale before. And for the first time, I finally settled on Ocean. When I stopped complaining that I couldn't find music and started just going, let's meditate. Why can't I find music? That's about how I meditate on days like that. And Ocean is what came to me for meditation music. And I thought, well, let's try the writing to that. And I could. So I just had to listen to my muse, because my muse was doing something completely different that they'd never done before. So I don't know. I guess this means if I set a book in, I don't know, the mountains, you know, a mountain stream, breeze in the trees. I don't know. Hikers running from something, going, oh my God. There's a running app, or they used to have a running app where you were zombie apocalypse running. And so the zombies would actually chase you. And if you didn't run fast enough, they would catch you and kill you and eat you. And it was very popular for, I don't know if it still exists as an app, but zombie running. It does exist? Okay. All right. Other questions? We have one. Yes, yes. Vigorous does count. She's waving her hand all over the place. And then we'll go all the way to the back again on the other side. I should have like intermediate music while we wait for the thing to get there.
Hello. I'm a huge fan. I was wondering, are you going to pick up Olaf's character again and bring him back into Anita's life? And
am I going to pick up Olaf's character in what?
And bringing him back into Anita's life and the whole were-lion.
You'll like this book.
Yes.
We tried not to spoil it in the book, but there's enough spoilers online that I can at least say that, can you really have only 3 horsemen of the apocalypse in one book? We've done that before, though. Bernardo was not in Harlequin. So, or Dance Macabre, which was it? Harlequin, okay. Yeah, Olaf came to town and he didn't. So I stand corrected by myself. All right, and we had somebody in the back, way in the back. I will resist the urge to hum, dance, or otherwise entertain while we wait for the mic.
Sorry. So, we're gamers. I imagine you probably have a number of gamers that read your books. And
yep.
Watching Anita grow in power level is interesting for our types of people because we like watching characters grow in power level. But also how you write about she went from almost virginal to where she's at now. So it's either growth or degeneration, depending on who you are and how you look at it, in a different direction. And that kind of growth and development is, I think, what makes a lot of people interested in your writing.
I'm sort of waiting for your question.
I'm sorry. Edward, well, I guess we're kind of hoping that Edward will stop getting old somehow.
Well, Edward stopped getting old.
Why?
And yes, I know. Anita's starting to worry about that too. He's like 40. He's in his 40s now. And as those of us who have hit that know that, especially for people like Edward, Edward is one of those people that could bull his way through everything physically when he was in his 20s. Yeah. And what we found, my husband and I have always been delicate little flowers. In my 20s, at 19, I was getting my first soft tissue injuries, and I was tripping over myself from the beginning. My dexterity score is not my high point. When I rolled up myself as a character, I really neglected that. So for those of us who were never really great athletically, aging is not that bad because we don't get worse. What's really happening is all of you natural athletes are catching up with us. And I'm sorry, but we've spent decades watching you guys bull through things and be good at everything while I get hit in the face with every ball that comes my way. But for Edward, it will hit him hard, as it has hit some of my other friends in military and police, that to not be able to do what he could do.
Exactly.
He has hit the gym in a fearsome way in this book, not just to help Donna with her diet before the wedding kind of thing, but because he's in his 40s now and he's competing with kids that are coming up in their 20s, as happens. But I can attest to the fact, and they've proven this scientifically, that if you hit the gym, no matter what age you are, you will improve. Now, I will tell you one secret that I've just found, because I started Kali a year ago, a little over a year ago, which is Filipino martial arts sword practice. I absolutely love it. But here's the thing. I've been in judo before. I've done other martial arts. I'd never done Kali before. So I've never been better at it. I'm not comparing myself to me in my 20s. I'm great right now. So don't try to compete yourself as you age. I encourage you to try something brand new that you've never done, because you won't compare yourself to you decades ago. You'll go, I totally rock at this. And if you're naturally athletic, you'll be really, really good at it. I don't know. The only solution for Edward not to age, scarily enough, is if he joins the other team. If something happens. And I have to say that if he got hurt around Anita, hurt too badly, wasn't going to make it, the temptation to offer him the chance, if we had like Nikki with us or somebody, would be high. We'd offer it. And I don't know if he'd take it, though. I don't know if he would prefer to die.
I was kind of hoping for an Edward Olaf showdown. Like Olaf became a werelion, Edward has to balance him and kill him to stop him from killing Anita or something like that, you know?
No, we'll just blow Olaf's head off from a distance with a rifle.
That's true. So true.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. None of this, we have to save the world or we'll all die, and you have a gun, you have no gun, and I have a gun, I'm going to put mine down and fight you one-on-one with the fate of the world? Fuck that. In the real world, in real police work, real military, real time, you break into my house and threaten me, you're dead. And I'm not going to fight fair. You cheated first. No. The only way that comes off as a showdown is if Olaf pushes it and we can't get away from it. Now, I'm not saying that won't happen. I thought he'd be dead by now. I thought we'd have killed him off books ago, because I thought he would have crossed the line by now. And the fact that he keeps not crossing the line is actually kind of creeping me. May I just say, all the ladies who have written in and let us know, are on social media or in person like this, that they think Olaf is a sex symbol? No. There are some bad boys that you may want to date. He is not one of them. You cannot redeem somebody who has his pathology. It isn't curable. And the fact that so many people think it is, I don't know why I was surprised, but I was. He is one of the creepier characters I've created, and that's a long, nice list. And by the way, I see it as evolution, not degeneration, but then I'm Wiccan. So as long as you harm none and everybody's consenting adults, do as thou wilt. All right, other questions? We'll do one there and one there. Pick.
Hi. You were talking about mystery novels that inspired your writing, and I was just wondering, what about the fantasy side? Like, were there fantasy novels that you have read that inspired some of your fantasy work?
I think every writer is a piece and a part of everything they read from the time they can read. But I know that my first novel, Night Seer, was very much inspired by Robert E. Howard, creator of Conan. I love his short stories. His short story collection, Pigeons from Hell, was the first horror, the first heroic fantasy, and the first dark fantasy I ever read. Up to that point, I'd been trying to imitate Louisa May Alcott, like of Little Women fame. Now, she wrote a lot more novels than just that, and she actually wrote pulp fiction and horror short stories of her day under pseudonyms. I found that out decades later. But I kept trying to imitate her because I admired her. She'd supported her family as a writer, and she wasn't male, and she wasn't a dead white guy. She was a dead white girl, but it was at least a move towards the same, packaging. And then I read Robert E. Howard, and I decided not only did I want to write for sure, but that's what I wanted to write. And he influenced heavily Night Seer. And he led me to all the other heroic fantasy. He led me to Andre Norton was one of the big influences when I was a teenager. She for fantasy and science fiction, and also playing Dungeons and Dragons. Night Seer itself, my first novel, was beginning. I started it out as a campaign where I was dungeon mastering back in the day. And I finally, one of the players finally got upset, because I got upset with them. I had this great adventure, and they kept screwing it up. And he says, this is really your novel. Why don't you just go write it? And I said, okay, if you write one of your adventures down, which are so detailed, and you try to sell it to TSR, I'll finish my novel and sell that. Deal? Deal. He never did finish his adventure and try to sell TSR. But I did. And I sold. And years later, we met at the high school reunion kind of thing, and I just went, dude, did you? And of course not. But you can blame my writing group for the beginnings of that. And not that writing group, but the writing group after college, when we moved back to Midwest. I didn't have a writing group then. My gaming group is the ones who took me out for a surprise dinner for selling my first novel. I have the original Gary Gygax box. That's how long ago I started. I have the box in a box at home. All right.
Thank you.
Yes. Pick one.
Hi. I really love your books. It's such brain candy. Somebody was talking about the comic books, and you talked about Marvel being bought out by Disney. Does that mean Anita's a Disney princess?
You missed the part where I said briefly, Anita was a Disney princess. Oh. If she marries Jean-Claude, what? It would be Nathaniel, though, really. Nathaniel would be the most comfortable being a Disney princess and the happiest. Wouldn't he? He would be the most comfortable with himself doing it, much more so than Anita. Dumping Anita in with the other princesses would be cruel. Though, Princess Leia is now a Disney princess, so, it might work. All right. And, okay, we have someone there. If you've already answered a question, I'm having trouble keeping track, do not do a second question, but if you have, but I'm trusting you, an honor system, so go ahead.
Okay. Hi, I was wondering if we will ever get to see Anita go out of the country with Edward on Peter's first hunt.
Will we ever see Edward and Peter taken? Yes, eventually. I would vote no, and Anita would vote no, but it's going to happen. Because he pops, he doesn't pop clean on lycanthropy. He can't. If he can't join the military right now. They're in the midst of deciding whether, because, never mind. Okay, question.
Sorry, I love you so much. Love your books. In introducing the series to a new reader, do you recommend starting from the beginning, or do you have a book that we should start with and then go back to the beginning?
Interesting question. For a new reader, what do you recommend? Well, it makes sense to start at the beginning with Guilty Pleasures, but I know a tremendous number of people that came in with Narcissus in Chains. Now, I wrote everything in order, so I can't imagine starting there and then going back. And I know every book I get, I have new people pick it up and go, I didn't know this was a series. So I would say start at the beginning, but I know people that have started everywhere. and they seem perfectly happy with it. For me, I prefer to start at the beginning of series, but actually, sometimes I'll dive in the middle if I can't find the first book and see where it goes to see whether I want to go backwards or forwards. So that's the closest I can answer.
Okay.
So probably start at the
middle and
beginning.
went back.
All right. And we have some people up front, and then we'll start back again.
I wonder if we're getting a sequel to Strange Candy.
If we're going to do a sequel to Strange Candy, more stories?
Yes.
Strangely enough, no pun intended, I just finished a short piece, an original Anita story for an anthology with Larry Correia. I don't know how many people know Larry Correia of the Monster Hunter series. Yes, if you like the action monster hunting side of what I do, I highly recommend Larry. He does other wonderful things, and it is called Femme Noir. So it's female femme fatales in the tradition of the film noir mystery series. And I did an original Anita for the series for the anthology, which will be out next year, I think, sometime next year. It's got David Weber in it, and Larry's got a story in it. My husband, my supplemental brain. That's what we call each other, actually. You know, what was that? You know, you were there too. What happened? So actually, I am starting to write short stories, and one of the things I learned in writing it is that I'm not a short story writer. I knew that. You'd think I know that, right? I can write if I'm inspired to write a short story, but when I sit down to purposely try to write short, it becomes a novel. And I actually texted Larry. I says, "Thanks, I've started my next Anita novel. It's a little long for what you wanted," so I had to do something else. All right. Let's see. We can either go there while you're right here, or go. Okay. What are you pointing at? Or right there.
First, I'd like to say thank you so much for doing the research that you do to put into these books. It is very appreciated to know that what I'm reading is correct.
Thank you very much. Research is everything. One of the biggest things that will throw me out of a book is lazy research. Go ahead and ask your question, and then I have a research comment.
My question is, last time you were here, we were talking about the possibility of Anita having a child. And I remember in either Crimson Death or the one before, she had agreed to Nathaniel to finally have a child. How many books down the line do you believe we will be able to see that?
Will Anita get pregnant? Will Nathaniel talk her into his baby fever, or will he not? And I'm hoping not. So books and books and books as far as I'm concerned. I vote no. Can you imagine trying to write an Anita book with her pregnant? Now, little pregnant, as long as she doesn't get morning sickness, we could do that for a book. But once she gets pregnant, I don't know about you, but I got to where I couldn't see my feet. I didn't know that I look at my feet to walk, but apparently I do. And I got to where I couldn't get behind the wheel of a car. At the very end, you're a turtle. You can't get up. The weight of it keeps you trapped like a turtle on its back. Anita would go out of her mind. I mean, she would be a cranky, cranky pregnant lady. It'd be kind of fun to say everything that she would say. That would be fun. But then you have a baby to deal with forever. And I've actually done the research on, you have the baby, and if you have it, like, people say, oh, put it in a Kevlar baby carrier. Kevlar stops bullets. It doesn't keep the baby from being crushed and killed. And I'm not doing that to her or Nathaniel. So I don't know. I'm kind of a little leery about it. So I don't know. On research, I sat on a panel with someone, and they quoted me something that was old folklore, hundreds of years old. And I said, no, it's not. And he argued with me. I said, no, I know it's not because I made it up. And of course, mic drop. I win that one. But I am now hearing people quoting me, to me, as their research. Nothing pisses me off. Well, there's a handful of things, but this is one of the top ones that pisses me off is fiction writers using other fiction as their research. That's not research, that's plagiarism. Are damn close. And it's lazy. It's lazy. Damn it. Write what only you can write. That's the biggest thing about writing. That's the most magical thing. There is a story in you that nobody else can write. A world that nobody else can write. A character that nobody else can write. Don't imitate me or anybody else. Do it yourself, because that's your magic. That's absolutely every writer's magic, their voice. Imitating me will not give you your voice. It may be a jumping off point, but you gotta find your own voice. Charlene Harris with the Sookie Stackhouse says, she's told me to her face that I was her inspiration, but Sookie was her own character. Very not Anita, especially in the early books. It's like, nope, she took it her whole way, and I was happy with that. Jim Butcher, same way, took it his own way. Find your own voice. I can inspire you, that's great. But don't use me as research or anybody, and don't just try to do a version of me. Find your own voice, because that's where your success as a writer will lie. Sorry, soapbox down. All right. Thank you. Gentleman in the front row, because he's been steadily holding his hand up.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Out of all the characters in your books, it's probably Jean-Claude that I find that I enjoy his evolution above every other character.
Cool.
And one of the questions that I have been really wanting to ask you, and there was a scene in this book that drove the question home for me. In your evolution of Jean-Claude, do you ever see him walking in the daylight?
Do I ever think that Jean-Claude will be a daywalker? Yes, I know that's from Blade. I actually do think he might be able to, because Damien can. And Damien got that in part through his connection with Anita and her necromancy. So I think he might be able to, but how do you want to test it?
Well, he is king.
You know, do you want to put a hand out and see if that boils in the sun? Do you put a foot out? What do you risk? That little, dress all in black, cut a hole in your jeans and see what happens?
It could be an accident.
Yes, but I'm not going to manipulate him. He'll have to choose it. Well, we might be doing it by accident, but it won't be by Anita or him doing it. So I think he would be able to. I think eventually. I think his power level will just reach that point where he can. But I don't know how we're going to discover it or if he will. I mean, he could go a lifetime. It's sort of like the old idea of the Highlander series, where you're an immortal, but you don't know it, and you don't die until you're very, very old, and suddenly you find out you're an immortal, and if you'd have died like 50 years ago or something, and you just go, fuck. I mean, wouldn't that be irritating? You could have had mortal life and been young the whole time, but no, had to wait. So that's the closest I can answer. I think he can. I think he probably could today, but he has to be willing to risk it and figure out how to explore it. I've made some scenarios possible. So, all right, next question. Okay. We have people pointing. Everybody's helping people here and there, pointing. Do we? Yes, okay. What? Benny Hill music? Okay, go ahead.
Hi there. I've always loved the angst and the passion between Anita and Richard. Is he ever going to pull his head out of his...
Is Richard ever going to pull his head out of his ass? I don't know. I wish he would, but it's too late for him and Anita. Yeah. That ship has sailed. I'm sorry, but it has. It is sailed, sunk, been salvaged, sunk again, and burned on fire and sunk a third time. It's gone. At this point, I just want Richard to find somebody for him to love that will love him back and be the kind of person he needs. That's what I'm wanting. And we'll see. You know, we'll see what happens. But he's really missed his boat with Jean-Claude. He's missed his boat with Anita. He's missed it. And I brought him on to not miss it. So you should never try to fix up your friends, even your imaginary friends, which is what I did. All right, next question. There's one right there.
Hi there.
Hello.
I really enjoyed the books with Micah and Jason where they went back and the whole story revolved around their family. My question is, I know Anita talks about her family. Have you considered, or is there a possibility in the future of them somehow being tied into the story or the current murder investigation in a future book? Or is there some reason you're not doing that?
Well, to bring them on to a murder investigation, something bad would have to happen to her family. That seems shitty to do to her, since she's already lost her mother at a young age. So I did write a story where we took her home for Thanksgiving, but I'll tell you how long ago that story idea was put together. Richard was the one supposed to go. Now it would be Nathaniel and Micah. It ain't happening, I don't think. I would be surprised if she goes home. I think the first time we see her family on stage will be before the wedding. I think that her father and Judith and her stepsister will have to meet Jean-Claude before the wedding. And Grandma Blake, of course. I don't see that going well. I just don't. Because come on, if you have kids, do you really want Jean-Claude to be the person on your daughter's arm? Is that what you pictured? I don't think so. For most fathers, it's not. I just think they're not going to have anything to relate to. Micah would be able to talk to her dad, man-to-man kind of thing. And Nathaniel went over the stepsister, maybe Judith, but I don't think her dad's going to be comfortable around Nathaniel. And Jean-Claude has nothing in common with people born in this century, really. There was a wonderful line in Buffy, when Buffy was on, when they were talking, one of the other part of the gang was talking about how she couldn't relate to her boyfriend because there was such an age difference. She says, try having somebody born in the 1700s. Because Angel was that much older. He says, yeah, nothing in common. Well, that's true. I don't see it going well. And Jean-Claude will be charming, but I just don't think her father's going to want to be charmed. They're all devout Catholics. Devout Catholics. He's a vampire. It just doesn't bode well. Okay. You've got all the way in the back? All the way in the back, okay?
Howdy.
Hello.
What is your favorite book to reread?
My favorite book to reread? Well, this time of year, it's Charlotte's Web by E.B. White. I read it almost every fall since I was like in junior high or younger. The book I've reread the most in my lifetime is 101 Dalmatians by Dodie Smith, much better than the Disney movie, even though I love it. But that was when I was 12, and I read it 24 times in a row. I have no idea why. I love the book, but I don't know why that book. For rereading now, the David Eddings Bulgarian series, it's overdue for a read. And The Hobbit by Tolkien. And it's been a long time since I have read Edgar Allan Poe or H.P. Lovecraft. I'm overdue for that. And I like to read cozy mysteries. In fact, I share a book birthday today with Lucy Burdett. Death on the Menu is her new book in her Key West mystery series. And I just thought it was fun because I found it while I was down in Key West doing research for this book. And cozy mysteries is about as far from what I write as I can get. So it's like a vacation. Because in a cozy mystery, no matter how many people die, it's still kind of fun. And I don't know how they do that, because if somebody dies in my books, it's not fun. It's a mystery to be solved, but you just lose that lightheartedness, you know? That Jessica Fletcher moment just eludes me. So I'll be more likely to reread a cozy mystery series or something. And I'm also reading the Gretchen Rubin books, and I am rereading those because I'm making notes. It's a happiness project. What a lovely concept. Even if you're happy, you could be happier, or maybe you can't. Let's find out. All right.
Thank you.
Next question. And there's someone, I don't know who's been holding their hand up longer. Okay.
Okay, so my question is, I am a young aspiring author, and I want to know, what advice would you give to someone who struggles a lot with writer's block?
Writer's block is a fear of failure, or a fear of perfectionism, or fear of failing at your perfectionism, correct?
I would say so.
Okay. 1, I put a sign above my desk before I finished my first novel. And it said, perfectionism is an unattainable goal, and perfectionism was spelled wrong on purpose. And I put it right where I saw it every damn day when I sat down to write. It made me look at it because it was spelled wrong, and it bugged the crap out of me. But it made the point that it wasn't going to be perfect. It can't be perfect. It's a first draft. You can't edit what's in your head. You can only edit pages besides your typewriter or in your computer. So the first thing is you have to work past the perfectionism. You have to. The second is you have to work past the negative voices in your head. Whether they're a parent that told you you'd fail, or a sibling they told you you'd fail, or a teacher, or a past life experience. I don't know. But something in your head, all those negative voices that get between you and the paper. And how do you fight through them? I still struggle with it. I still struggle. Some days I will set for 2 hours in front of the computer with nothing to show for it because I am letting the negative voices eat me. My personal demons are winning. And about 2 hours in of writing, I can't do this. This book sucks, this scene sucks, I can't do this. Somewhere around 2 pages to 4 pages to 5 pages to 2 hours of angst and getting up and making numerous cups of tea and forgetting to drink them. Then my muse kicks in and I'm starting to write. Now, that's after 39 novels. I still struggle with it.
What if you have the idea and you know what you want, but you can't put it into words?
Practice, practice, practice.
Okay.
That's it. Okay. One of the interesting things about being a writer is people think that they should be able to do it better than they do quickly. You wouldn't go to the Indianapolis 500 and think that you could get in one of their cars and lap that sucker around there and win the race with no training, would you? Would you?
No.
Thank you. I'm going, well, you're more confident than me, I'll tell you that. And you wouldn't think that you could go into, pick your sport, your professional sport, and be able to do that without training. But people think they should be able to write and write well by just sitting down at their desk or getting a pen and paper. People expect themselves to be good at it with no practice or very little practice. It doesn't work that way. It's just like driving in the Indianapolis 500 or painting a beautiful painting or being able to sew a gorgeous dress or design for an architect, design a building. You have to figure out how it works. You've got to figure out the mechanics. You've got to practice. Practice, practice, practice. Ray Bradbury said that you should pick a small room in your house and paper it with your rejection slips. Wallpaper it with your rejection slips. Because when you have wallpapered it, you will have written the crap out. And you will be down to your gold. And so that's how I looked at it. At 17, I started to collect my first rejection slips. My grandmother would not let me put them on the bathroom wall, by the way. Because rejection is part of it. You're supposed to be bad before you're going to be good. That's just the nature of every skill set. And I don't understand why people don't think writing is a skill set like that. It is. So it's okay to be bad. It's okay to not know how to put it down. I didn't always know how to write a fight scene. I had to practice at it before I got good. I didn't know how to write good dialogue, so I practiced. And you find people that do it better. Like for fight scenes, I read Robert E. Howard and other heroic fantasy. They wrote good fight scenes. For dialogue, Robert B. Parker, the Spencer series, does great dialogue. And you can still see the echo of his dialogue in mine to this day. So find writers that are doing it better than you can. Learn from other people and read widely and practice, practice, practice. That's the only way it works. So you're welcome. All right, she's been holding her hand up very steadily. And then there's somebody on the other side.
Kickboxing has helped me do that, actually.
I'm sorry, what?
Kickboxing made my arm stronger. So you did a short story called Shutdown, I believe, and I think it was in 2015. Is that ever something you're planning on putting back out there?
Yes, yes. When I get another collection at Like Strange Candy, I will put in Shutdown. I may go ahead and put Shutdown out as an electronic earlier. So I've been debating. But it was specially written when the government shut down. Yep. And I was so floored at the stupidity of it. If I do that, I would also then do the one where Anita helped the Cubs win by breaking the curse. And then they won. I wrote the story, and then they won. I really didn't think that I didn't know if they were going to win or what, but I thought, well, this is cute. I'll just put it out there. And then they won. It's like magic. All right, who are you saying? All right, she's had her hand up a while. All right.
Hi. Do you think you'll ever do you think there will ever be a conclusion with Van Cleef?
Will there be a conclusion with Van Cleef? Not a conclusion, but more.
Okay.
A conclusion implies a finish that I don't think is possible.
All right.
But more, yes. I'm sorry, you waited all that time. It's a small answer, but that's the best I got.
It's okay, because we haven't seen much of it lately in some of the books. So.
You do not want to see much of Van Cleef and his shadow puppets. You do not want to see them. I know I don't. And the fact that he's showing up in connection to more and more people in Anita's life is very disturbing to me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty much what I was wondering, because it's adding up to something.
Yes, it is. And I can't say, that's it. I'm not going to spoil it.
Okay.
Like I said, you guys didn't even want me to spoil the book before. You don't want me to spoil books and books down the line.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. We have 2 more questions. All right. Who's been holding their hands up? Okay, and we have one there and one over there. There are only 2 more questions, so no pressure.
Hi, so I actually started on Circus of the Damned when we met Larry, and I know he and Anita have had a really bumpy road, and they kind of sort of reconciled. Do you see them ever getting kind of back to where they were in like the first 3 books of their relationship in terms of friendship?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear do you mean Ronnie?
No, Larry.
Larry. Okay, I can't hear. No. Short answer is no. They are going to mend fences. I mean, they mended fences in
Dead Ice.
On stage in Crimson Death, was it?
Dead
no.
Ice.
Kiss of the Dead, thank you. They mended some fences in there, and he apologized for some of the things he said and did. So they are friendlier, but they're never going to be buds again. She's never going to be able to trust him again to that degree. I mean, even if he's trustworthy, once somebody's broken trust with me to that point, I can't be close to them again. So no, unfortunately not. All right, and then we have somebody over here. We have a couple of somebodies over here. So Jonathan. So who are you pointing at?
I'm sorry.
Careful, don't fall. Sorry, your mic person almost went under.
Hi. Okay,
Hi.
So I was wondering, what other supernaturals are we going to run into in your series?
You don't even want me to spoilers from the book before that's been out in paperback now. You really want me to spoil things for books and books and books? Really? Really? No, yes, so no, I can't answer that question. You have one more chance at a question that isn't a spoiler. So,
cultural supernatural.
I'm sorry, what?
Cultural, from Japan or India or something like that.
Nope, you can't spin this. It's a spoiler. Don't spin it. Somebody else with a question. Okay, she's had her hand up for a while. Yeah. And then that will be the last question. So, there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, my question originally was about Olaf, so that got answered, but I've been watching the live feed. And
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing at this point.
Sorry, I've been watching the live feed and the comments that are going on right now.
Okay.
And the question is there a possibility of Richard being replaced in the Triumvirate with Anita and JC?
Is there a possibility of replacing Richard
without him having to die or affecting them?
Richard in the Triumvirate. There is a possibility, but I don't know if we could do it with Richard not dying. We might be able to. I've been making notes actually about something that I can't say because it would be a humongous spoiler. So it might be possible. I'm making notes on that. And I think that no matter what happens, Richard will be unhappy. If you could hit him with the magic wand and make him not what he was and give him a normal life, he would be unhappy. He's just going to be one of those people that's going to be unhappy with what's happening around him. He's just one of those people. And he's one of those people that looks like he should have everything. And he's just not going to be happy with it, unfortunately. All right, I think that's it. I think we're now going to be doing pictures. We're going to be doing pictures out there. Yes? Thank you so much for everybody and all the questions. And comments already on the live feed, of course there are. So, all right, I think we're done though, right?
Yes, absolutely. Everyone, again, thank you. Laurell K Hamilton.